Hello and welcome to Tuesday Musings. This is your weekly place for inspiration and advice from me. I'm Brianna McNerney, and I teach my clients how to take control over life's highs and lows so that they can build consistency. Consistency is the key word in the work that I do with people. Consistency in confidence and income, in impact, in relationships, and in general life balance, regardless of what challenges might be presenting themselves in any given moment. I'm in the business of empowering and supporting creative professionals, especially while they connect on deeper and deeper levels with themselves to make their mark on the world. I love filling our society's gap in emotional education. We weren't all taught how to do emotions and success really well together growing up, so that's what I'm here for. And today we're talking about trauma. Big, scary word, trauma. Specifically, how to process it effectively in the moment as soon as possible after the disturbing or distressing event has occurred. This will also help you get through a trigger moment. If the trauma happened a while ago and something new is sparking up those responses in you. This is heavy stuff, and I apologize in advance. The video is going to be a little bit longer than normal, but it's important to be thorough when we're talking about this. And don't hesitate to leave your comments and questions throughout if you have them. Message me if it's more comfortable for you. We really all need this information right now, and we need to support each other. So I'm here to support you. And I was inspired to make this video because I've been seeing a lot of trauma lately, not only with individual people like my clients, family, friends that I connect with, but also a lot of social trauma going around, happening every day almost. This mass shooting that happened yesterday in Vegas is only the most recent example. And trauma is defined as a deeply disturbing or distressing experience. That's it, a deeply disturbing or distressing experience. And experiences like these, they change us, they impact us to our core. After traumatic events, we start making decisions and taking actions, experiencing our lives through a totally new lens that we didn't have before based on the impact of that event, that traumatic event, and what it taught us, whether we're aware of it or not. When we have trouble processing whatever traumatic things happen to us effectively, we end up experiencing a lot of difficulty, maybe throughout the course of our entire life. And before you know it, if you haven't processed the traumatic event, you feel nervousness or anger or some other kind of physical sensation, seemingly out of nowhere when everything is all right, should be all right. You experience emotional reactions like those when you are traumatized, even when you're safe, when you're physically in a safe environment. This is what people call a trigger or a trauma response, as I like to say. Symptoms of PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder, an example of this, so can be perfectionism or being overly controlling in your life, going into overwhelm or overgiving when you're in survival mode, sabotaging relationships and success because you're afraid of losing it, speaking from my own personal experience here. Honestly, it's even totally normal to go into a trauma response or to be traumatized vicariously from hearing about news, like the latest things that have been on the news, especially when we're watching video coverage, seeking out specific details of what's been happening. On a deep level, when we experience these things, we start to fear for our physical safety and our well-being. We do not often give ourselves the credit and recognition to know that that's a trauma response because we try to minimize what we're going through, especially people who are interested in helping other people. We minimize our own experience. So even when we do recognize what's happening, even the people who do know when they've experienced something big and traumatic or that they've been triggered, it's easy to feel totally out of control when that happens. So I'd love to give you some of your power back today. We can never really control what life hands us. The only thing we can control with practice is our response. So, I would love to give you a process today to help you deal with traumas and triggers in the moment in the most efficient way possible so that the trauma and the symptoms of that trauma don't progress to cause serious issues in your life. So, let's dive in. First of all, please know that everything you're feeling at this time is normal and probably to be expected. The way you feel is the perfect way to feel right now. And that's not to say that you shouldn't get support for what you're going through. Please, we all deserve to have amazing quality support, whatever feels best for you. You have so many options at your disposal for good support during this time, and the only way to know which one is best is to start looking, connecting with people, resources, trauma centers, or just, other kinds of resources, and find what feels good and helpful for you. Just so you know, I absolutely love working with people who've experienced trauma to help them process and take control back over their lives. I am someone who's experienced multiple traumas, and not only have I gone through it myself, I've spent a lot of additional time, money, energy learning about trauma throughout my professional career, learning what it's about, how to move through it, how to grow from it, and how to support others through that same process. So that's where I'm coming from here. You are supported, you have choices, and just because it's normal to feel this way doesn't mean you should be able to handle it alone. We all need and deserve to have support, myself included, okay? So now, if you've never explored or considered the choices that you have at your disposal, what I'm about to say might not be a great fit for you yet. In our society, almost everyone has experienced something that was traumatic for them, whether they recognize it or not. Being able to process traumas in the moment, traumas and triggers like we're talking about today, it takes practice. And being able to do this as the events and triggers occur, it's really best done with a clean slate. When you've started processing old traumas or even just old emotions and patterns that have informed who you are now. Your slate doesn't have to be completely clean, and it probably never will be completely clean, but you should at least have the supplies and a cleaning schedule set up, if you catch my drift. AKA, maybe you've at least seen a therapist before or explored some of this stuff that we're about to be talking about. If you dive headfirst into this without support around the process, A, it's going to take a lot longer. B, you'll go through a lot of pain, feeling alone, lost, unsupported, which just is not necessary, okay? Because this path has been walked before. People know how to do it, who can help you. And not to mention, it's really hard to see your full picture when you're standing inside of it. You can accidentally end up reinforcing detrimental patterns for yourself much longer than necessary when you're going it alone. So, all of that said, the first step to this process is bringing awareness to what you're experiencing after the event or the trigger. Allow your natural response and embrace that response as much as possible. Recognize the response that your body and mind are having. Find gratitude for it, okay? This fearful, anxious, hypervigilant, or even angry response lets you know that your system is working well. It's working well. It's doing what it's supposed to do. It's prioritizing keeping you and your body safe, okay? As you recognize, acknowledge, embrace, and find gratitude for the trauma response you're having or the trigger response that you're experiencing, you'll naturally start to feel safer as you bring awareness to that and accept what's happening. Then you can continue to actively help yourself feel safe, whatever it takes. If you've just experienced a traumatic event, that might look like extra locks on your door, or learning how to better defend yourself, closing the blinds when you're home alone, turning all the lights off, and curling up in a blanket. I don't know, whatever it takes for you to feel safe. I also love using a simple mantra, especially when my thoughts are going really fast. I'm safe. I'm safe. I'm safe. Just breathe and repeat that to yourself until you start to slow down. This will help you sink back down into a more relaxed state, back into your body, out of that stressed out hypervigilance that I like to call survival mode. So, once you've recognized and embraced that trauma response and you feel safe enough, carve out some time to yourself to be alone in the place that you feel safest. This next part, it can be amazing to do with support in place. It might be important to have support close by, or at least with a phone call's reach at first, but I actually find that a lot of my clients feel safer and more open doing this next part of the process on their own time without me. I'm the same way. So carve out some space for yourself to lean in to the physical sensation of the emotion that that event has brought up for you. Describe it, let it surface, express it fully through crying, yelling, punching, maybe going for a run if it makes sense. Write if it's helpful for you to lean into the experience more deeply and understand what it is that you're feeling. This is so essential because trauma lives in our body. So until you let it move through, the emotional pain you suppress from the trauma will store in your body and create issues for you down the line. It's important to know going into emotion like this that you have the control over coming back. There's oftentimes a fear about feeling those emotions deeply. Like once we let it out, we won't be able to put it back again. And you really need to believe that you are in control here over your emotional response. You at least need to believe that you can gain more control over your emotional response when you have some practice doing it. And you can gain control. I'm a living testament to this. So maybe set an alarm or a time limit for yourself the first few times and notice how you're able to honor those boundaries with yourself. Maybe let yourself lean in little by little according to what feels comfortable for you. We're really letting our bodies come full cycle by doing this. We're expressing what we're feeling when the trauma was happening. And by doing that, we can build our body's confidence that it'll be able to protect itself better in the future. If something similar were to happen again, you'll be more aware of how you would want to respond. And nothing from the outside will make you feel completely safe until you have this inner safety and inner confidence. So once you've spent ample amounts of time there in those first two steps, giving yourself as much space and safety as you need, and you start naturally noticing lessons and desires that are bubbling up after your emotions have passed through, you'll eventually start moving into, I'm okay. Everything is all right. And then, with even a little bit more practice and time, you'll come to everything happens for a reason. And yes, that's the most annoying thing that a person can possibly say to a recently traumatized individual. I get that. So I'm sorry, but stick with me, okay? If you don't believe it, please believe this, at least, that the potential for a positive outcome to result from a negative or challenging event is always there, period. You have the opportunity to find that positive outcome. This isn't wishing for or justifying or minimizing your trauma. Please give yourself the space that you need to feel the full extent of the shittiness of the situation, and know this. Once you've acknowledged and embraced and expressed the challenging bits, once you've let yourself go there, the thing that will pull you back up out of that deep emotion is a change of focus towards how you can respond to make sure that this never happens again to anybody else, or at least do the best that you can to minimize it happening again to somebody else. Essentially, that's the process in whatever way feels inspired for you. Give yourself yourself a happy ending. There's a whole body of research on post traumatic growth, basically reaching higher levels of functioning through the experience of adversity. So just don't forget to validate and feel the challenging parts too, okay? It's an essential part of the process. No skipping steps here. You will get stuck. And try it out. Let me know what you think in the comments or in a private message. I would love to hear about it. I really want to hear how you do with this, okay? As always, if you'd like some personalized help, consider scheduling an epiphany session with me. We'll use the time together to create an epic moment for you, an epic moment of clarity, so that you'll know what steps you need to take to move into the healthiest, most satisfied, most powerful, high performing version of yourself. These sessions are a great way to create some inspired momentum for yourself right away, and it'll help us get a better feel of whether or not we're a fit to work together. I love connecting people to resources, so you'll have support moving forward, even if it's not with me. And just message me if you'd like to set it up. It's super easy. So I will see you next week for more Tuesday musings. Make sure to subscribe or connect with me if you want to stay in the loop. Thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate your time. Take very good care of yourself, and I will talk to you soon. Bye.